911 emergency.
My son's missing. He was taken out by police. I want him.
Hi everyone, welcome to my video, A Day in the Life of an Aspie Watchman. First, thanks to everyone that sends me stuff. I pray that no one takes offense if I don't respond, but I watch so much myself, and that's just not how my brain works when people send me their own stuff. I only use what I myself see and what strikes a chord with me or launches me into one of my study deep dives. And recently, something Brother John Traksick posted on Facebook is what launched a series of events for me today, all pointing to July 21st. I wasn't even going to do a video with it just being near my birthday. That wasn't enough for me to do a video. But John Traksick posted some of what he calls the destroyer pics. Then that sparked a memory of the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey, which then sparked a memory of Zoroastrianism, which sparked a memory of the deceased Senator John McCain. Why am I talking about John McCain? I'll get back to that. There's a lot of moving parts in this video, and by necessity, I'm keeping it short. If there's anything that you want to study more in depth or fact check me, please feel free to do so on your own. I'm just going to keep to the points. Who was Zoroaster? Zarathustra was his name in Greek, and very few people around the world still worship this religion. 60,000 in the entire country of India, which is one of the most densely populated countries on the planet, is an example of just how few people subscribe to this. But strangely enough, it's still alive and well as an almost, dare I say, secret religion in America. In 2006, coincidentally and unrelated, I'm sure, to the TV series Jericho being released, where the United States nukes itself so NATO forces can take over the remains, that same year began the North American Zoroastrian Congress. In 2024, this will be their 18th one, and it will be held in Houston, Texas. Their push is to create a resurgence of the religion in America. For whom? Generation Z. Here's a quick snapshot of the May 2024 issue of National Geographic containing an article, Keepers of the Flame. Think flame like an elemental force, like that one priest character gathering elements in the movie called The Fifth Element, starring Bruce Willis. July 25th or thereabouts is when they celebrate what's called a deathlessness immortality event. Want to know what other religion is derived from Zoroastrianism? The Church of Jesus Christ and Latter-day Saints is. Here they are on the website for the Zoroastrian religion. Here's a couple upcoming celebrations or feasts, if you will. Muktad and Zartosh Nodiso overlaps the August 13-14 Feast of New Wine period. December 26th is when the prophet Zoroaster died, and they celebrate it immediately following and during Saturnalia, aka the pagan origins of Christmas. Why do I care about Zoroastrianism, or who Zoroaster was? Here's a funny and deceptive comment on Google search about there being no consensus about what Zarathustra even means. Except when you go to Wikipedia, you find out more about some song that Friedrich Nietzsche talked about in his philosophical novel. Side note, there's a piece of music that's referenced and its length is 33 minutes exactly, and his philosophy was apparently influenced by Zoroastrianism. In the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey, there was that large, reflective, black, metallic-looking crystalline monolith referred to as Tycho monolith that first appears in the movie on Earth in the opening scene with the monkey touching it. Then it appeared later on the moon in an excavation. And during the opening scene, Oh, and by the way, Stanley Kubrick was the one that did the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey. And during the opening scene, they used the now famous musical piece titled "Also Sprach Zarathustra," or in English, "Thus Spoke Zarathustra," the prophet of, Zoroastrianism. I did a little editing play there and blurred the lines between the two movies. Were they saying that in the movie Lucy, when mankind accesses 100% of their minds, that they become God over time and space, and that it was the character Lucy that replaced the Tycho monolith, making first contact with the apes, but only actually seen by the primitive man as a monolith? Where am I going with this? Well, those monoliths have started showing up again all over the place. Here's a couple quick pictures. Now let's go back to John McCain. Why was I talking about John McCain? Well, he made a strange comment at the 2012 Alfred E. Smith convention roast, and they all had a great deep group belly laugh about that one.
Finally, when Larry King asked President Clinton a couple of weeks ago what was the delay and why he wasn't out there on the trail for Barack, Bill said his hands were tied until the end of the Jewish high holidays. Now, you got to admire that ecumenical spirit. I just know Bill would like to be out there now, stumping for Barack until the last hour of the last day. Unfortunately, he is constrained by his respect for any voters who might be observing the Zoroastrian New Year. Some advocates for Senator Obama are less restrained in their enthusiasm, even in the media. He usually is at table 228, for example. It was my old friend and green room pal, Chris Matthews. He used to like me, but he found somebody new. Somebody who opened his eyes, somebody who gave him a thrill up his leg. And we've talked about it. I told him, Maverick I can do, but Messiah is above my pay grade.
Why was that so funny? He certainly wasn't talking about Israeli votes in that comment, because the Zoroastrian calendar is Iranian or Persian, and it's the calendar used by Zoroastrians, aka the secret religion that they're pushing to Generation Z. Here's a few quick picks for you to consider. From 2001: A Space Odyssey, the sun coming over the moon. Was that to depict man overcoming the second heaven again? What would that look like as a symbol turned upside down, I wonder? Here's the winged being again used by Zoroaster from Generation Z. Here's those pics again that John Traksick shared of the winged destroyer image on ancient artifacts. Did you know that the Zoroastrian religion of fire says that they inspired the Hebrew Bible? That sounds like something a Persian or an Iranian would say. Do you see where I'm going with this yet? I'm just going to throw out one more name from the Bible. And it was this Persian fella, you may have heard of him, who worked with a prophet named Zoroaster. Do you know what this guy's name was? Cyrus. What's Cyrus known for? We'll go to Isaiah 45, 1 through 25, if you'd like to know more. Who today is compared to Cyrus? Is he an evil man or a good man? And is God using him? Well, given the context of Cyrus, the argument could be made that he is, or God is using him. But if this comparison is to be accurate, it must be said that Cyrus was not a good guy. God used him, yes. Good guy, no. I love what Google asks. What did Cyrus the Great do for human rights? Well, in 539 BC, the armies of Cyrus the Great, the first king of ancient Persia, conquered the city of Babylon. But it was his next actions that marked a major advance for man. He freed the slaves. Notice they don't mention what slaves. Declared that all people had the right to choose their own freedom, and established racial equality. So asking a question like that, or making a statement like that, like what Cyrus did for human rights, that's a secular, godless question from a secular, godless collective worldview, which I am not. And all acts of kindness in the name of human rights that he may have done aside, he was a bloodthirsty Zoroastrian savage that broke Babylon's back to create peace. And it was God that used him in that manner. What's Babylon today? America? Jesus is truth. Even a 1% variation to one side or the other is not truth. See how I did that? I didn't even have to say the name of who I'm referring to or show any pictures. So nobody needs to attack me, knowing full well you will anyway. Now, I don't normally do this, excuse me, talk about other Watchmen's stuff, but a lot of this is lining up with what I'm seeing myself. And so I can use it as confirmations. Brother Brett at God's Land Down Under worded it well. Sorry, people keep coming to my door, sending me texts. Brother Brett at God's Land Down Under worded it well when he talked about personal confirmations are venturing out of the Bible and into the realm of saying we're seeing things from God, like the God pokes that I say that I get all the time. I don't make videos about all those that I get because if I did, I'd look like a lunatic in need of halcyon. But get enough of them together and related to something I've seen or a memory that pops into my brain, as I've just shown you here with this video how, and I don't know why this happens, like why in the world I'd see a photo John Traksic showed that would immediately connect the synapse accessing a memory of something John McCain said in 2012 about the prophet Zoroaster, Cyrus, and the Trump comparisons. Oops, I said his name. But God knows how to communicate with each of us in the manner in which we receive. That being said, Brother Dana provided a list of things that aligns with this month's full buck moon. First of which, and perhaps most importantly, in his most recent video, at least at the time I'm making this one, he makes the case that on the Hebraic calendar, the 21st of July is Shavuot. On the ancient priestly Enochian solar calendar, July 21st is the first day of the month of Tammuz, and then he cites Psalm 81:3 that says, blow the trumpet at the new month at the full moon. On the Dead Sea Scrolls calendar, and this one will get someone's attention, I'm sure. I didn't come up with this, Brother Dana did, but dsscalendar.org lists July 21st as the Feast of New Wine. See also Acts 2, Pentecost, and he mentions as the kicker that we first learned of the existence of that feast from the Dead Sea Scrolls. So it should be considered and not summarily dismissed without thought. On the Torah calendar, July 21st through 22nd is Tu B'Av, the festival where men choose brides who dance in the field. And I like his statement at the end, where he asks, is God going to use multiple calendar types as a way to enable multiple feast days or verses to be fulfilled on the same day? That thinking is somewhat along the same lines as Chuck Missler saying that the story Jesus articulates to us over and over again throughout the Bible in different ways, making the revelation of Jesus Christ pervasive throughout and not just within the book of Revelation itself, such that you could tear out large sections of the Bible and the revelation of who Jesus Christ is would still be intact. So is God going to align all the calendars, thus reversing the craziness that Satan has wrought upon us with the 40 some odd calendars, where if someone was to somehow overlay all calendars like a scatter diagram, that there would be a recognizable cluster of dots all around one particular date? I don't know, but can you imagine? That'd be a real in-your-face Satan. I was chatting with Brett online about some of the things aligning personally for me, like how God is always doing something beautiful after putting me through what I perceive as abject chaos in the moment. I have a lot of sensory issues. I'm not an easy person to be around. God bless my wife for sticking with me despite my nature. I have tics, which is one of the reasons I don't do a lot of videos with my face on. I'm very schedule oriented, and I find it difficult to deviate. I am sound and light sensitive, so I can't stand crowds or be in a noisy din environment, or I feel trapped. I have to be alone a lot, and I remove myself, but in my own house, there's not very many places I can escape to. And one of my daughters has temporarily moved back in with us and brought my grandson, who's also staying here, both of whom I love. And my grandson, it's very much like living in an enclosed space with the Boomerang Kid in Mad Max Road Warrior. Quite literally, he runs into every room screaming, smashes something, then runs out of the room screaming to smash something else. And my house is all tile. It's a very typical Florida house, so it's very echoey. And my mom has come to stay with us at the same time because my birthday is this coming weekend. I was born on the day man set foot on the moon, July 20th, 1967. So actually 2 years prior, because that happened in 1969. So I was already toddling about and soiling myself as my parents watched Walter Cronkite on TV on my birthday, the exact scene of which was recreated inside Walt Disney World's Epcot Globe Spaceship Earth. There's an animatronic living room scene from July 20th, 1969 with furniture that actually looked a lot like my house at the time. But I digress. Anyway, there's a lot going on in my house. My wife, not wanting me to be overwhelmed more than I already was, let me in on a secret so I could prepare for it. She told me that there's a party being thrown for me on Saturday, which is tomorrow as I'm recording this, and that's my birthday, and one of my sons and his wife are also coming over. So as chaotic as this all is, what I noticed is that several of my family will be in my house with me. And my house is set up to be an underground church for the left behind tribulation saints. Anyway, the date and time that they will all be with me at my house happens to be during the final hour of the first watch on July 20th. See this video to understand what I mean by that term if you've never seen any of my videos, or if this is the first one you're seeing. Using the Hebraic calendar that Brother Dana mentioned, if July 21st actually is Shavuot, sure, my birthday is the day before, but my birthday starts at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, which makes it 8 p.m. Israel Daylight Time, and runs until 6 p.m. Eastern Time. So I'm grilling steaks, we're hanging out, etc., but at 5 p.m., that's midnight in Israel, and it becomes July 21st while everyone's still at my house. A couple interesting things, and this is kind of a tongue twister for me. Looking at the moon phases and cycles, July 20th, 7:20, is still a waxing nearly full moon, and moonrise is at 7:21 IDT on 7:20. 7:21, as in the following day's date, almost like we're being pointed to the following date. Also, July 20th is the nearly full moon. That's the only day in July where the moon doesn't pass the meridian. So what I was telling Brett was, could you imagine my sleeping Christian family members witness me fly within either that final hour of the first watch or after the stroke of midnight when it becomes the 21st, Shavuot in Israel? And he pointed out, yeah, if you see me go, it would be like Elijah and the double portion for Elisha scenario. And my family would be in my house with all my stuff. So maybe it's all been meant for them all along. Anyway, a guy can hope. I actually hope that everybody goes at the same time, but you never know. Now, when we look at the evening of the following day, the evening of the 21st, and Shavuot in Israel, it's on that day where the moonset of the full buck moon is during the final hour of the first watch at 8:10 IDT. So then I was thinking, that's a lot of 721 references packed in there. And I looked up 721 in Strong's Greek Concordance. Guess what it means? Christ the Lamb. Continuing with the logic that the Hebraic calendar is saying 721 is Shavuot, and Shavuot is the day the Israelites celebrate as the day the angel of death passed over them by mopping their doorways with the blood of the Lamb. And when you look it up in Strong's, it means Christ the Lamb. I mean, I'm getting chills. Also, Sister Ann B. on my Telegram channel shared these slides about the Apollo 11 lunar lander adventure, all taking place within the window of 719 to 721. A couple things to notice. The lunar module was called the Eagle. Think that's by chance? Because when we fly, we will go where the eagles soar. But the project that got them there to the moon was named after Satan, Apollo, Apollyon, Abaddon, Apollo 11 no less, 1111. As above, so below. So some wonder if the landing even really happened. I've talked about this in this video captioned here. It's over on Rumble from several years back when I was into doing decodes. And don't get hung up on the Flat Earth title, thinking anything new about me either way. This was, as it states there, a thought experiment, and it turned into one of the most contentiously debated videos that I've ever done in the comment section by people that neither watched the video nor understood what I was doing with it. But in that video, I talk about Stanley Kubrick, again, the filmmaker many say filmed the lunar landing on a set. And I talk about the mystery camera that filmed their first steps on the moon, wondering aloud, who do you suppose filmed that from that angle? And I follow the trail of the media of the media trying to cover up by saying that the camera was mounted on the lander. Then when people asked about it being able to survive re-entry, they said that they lost it. Then the camera showed up again because one of the astronauts supposedly stole it. Then again, when people said that they wanted to look at it, they said, oh, sorry, it's been locked up at the Smithsonian now. But the tells that something was up are still out there. First, Kubrick is dead, as is anybody who's ever done something for the shadow government, because those loose ends know too much. When Kubrick made the movie The Shining, he randomly pulled this sweater onto child character Danny Torrance. I mean, you can see how crudely it was pulled onto him. His collar's sticking out and it's all bunchy. Almost like Stanley was trying to tell people, I did this and I can't take credit for it. Other things I talk about in that video, and I'll spare you the time in watching it because honestly it's a terribly done video. It was one of my first, I think it's like my 8th or 9th video, and it was before I had any good software to assemble things, and the music over my voice is overmodulated, so it even bothers me going back. But in it, I talk briefly about Antarctica being like the ice wall in Game of Thrones, behind which was a dragon, and how all the United Nations related organizations that popped up around or just before Israel became a nation, like the International Maritime Org, World Meteorological Org, International Civil Aviation Org, and the WHO, the organizations that control and lock down all information. There's no pictures of Antarctica from space, like from the space station that supposedly flies over it. Seriously, go try Googling it. It's all drawn or computer-generated maps or close-ups of someone standing on the ground. I'm like, yeah, that could be anywhere. It could be Nevada. There's no flights allowed over it. There's no shipping lanes allowed near it, yet Nazi Germany supposedly had something going on there, and Iran, most recently, somehow managed to get their tugboat warships there to stake a claim in Antarctica. And then the flag devices for all those organizations uses the flat Earth map ringed with a Roman crown that could be argued represents the ice wall that flat earthers are always talking about. I mean, it's preposterous stuff, but is it preposterous? I mean, we're simply told what's out there beyond the firmament. And then I talk about movies where we live in simulated reality and are being watched, like Dark City and The Truman Show, where the god of that TV show, Earth, and the camera and lighting crews are all inside the moon. Now, I don't want to rehash all that video or get people off track thinking that I'm into or against flat Earth. I only brought that up because of the firmament aspects. See, Nimrod threatened to get above the firmament between the first and second heaven. There's Earth, then the first heaven is our atmosphere, then the second heaven is space, or the entire universe. Then the third heaven is outside of space and time construct where Jesus and angelic created beings reside. But Nimrod wanted to showcase how he could break through the firmament to space and the second heaven. Then flash forward to the Apollo mission. I tend to think that was the same Antichrist spirit attempting to break through the firmament. And when they couldn't, they made a movie about it. And so satellites, all present day space launches, all that stuff is still within the first heaven because they can't break through the firmament. If you look back at the Truman Show, you've got one light called Sirius 9 or something that falls down from the false space, so a false star. So is that where all the satellites are? And anyway, that's where CERN comes in. So they're going to try and blast a hole. Do you see what I'm saying? And then you can go down the whole witchcraft rabbit holes where their big pagan ritual and summoning and spell casting days are at periods of time when, using their own words, the veil is the thinnest. See one of my most recent videos, I can't remember which one now, but I'm talking about October 31st, the Samhain pagan festival that became Halloween. I said all that to suggest that July 20th to 21st is one of the periods of time when the veil is thinnest. They celebrate the arrogance that they already have dominion over the first heaven and earth, and that they somehow beat God by landing on the moon and making people believe it for generations, and then building the entertainment industry, doing countless movies about aliens, and the reason we can only catch glimpses of them until now is because they're on the other side of the firmament. But once the restrainer's hand is lifted from this world and we go, then the veil will be opened, allowing these aliens, i.e. fallen angels, demonic spirits, to flood into this world. Anyway, I am so ready to get out of here. I'm watching people that I know die. I'm having to go through, or people having to go through terrible surgeries and trials. Multiple people that I know are going through divorces. There's mental illness, and not to mention anymore the imminent threat of global nuclear war and how close things are getting ready to pop in Israel. But with this whole shooting scenario that was predicted, and I talked about Big D's rise to power back in 2020. Now that it's unfolding, I'm still honestly dumbfounded by the brainwashed behavior of people I know. It's so much and so suddenly worse. Last week, I had a guy threaten to kill me over suggesting that Big D was the little horn. Said if he ever saw me in person, he'd kill me with his bare hands. And then this guy, who went completely nuts on me in comments, and I didn't even say the things that he said I said. The video that he commented on contained clips of Big D himself saying stuff, and I was just letting it play. I didn't need to say anything. But these people go to water on me, and in the same breath, they say that they're Christians. And now, what's it been, 3 days? And people are already getting tattoos of it and wearing ear bandages in solidarity to events. Guys, I don't know what he is or if he's anything, but the behavior of anyone in power, anyone, is seemingly not that of believers seeking Jesus Christ. Instead, they're comparing themselves to Jesus Christ. Or worse yet, there's pictures of Jesus asking Big D to help him save the people of America. I'm not sharing any of that crap. Because the day after it happened, I logged onto Fakebook, and it was like stream of alternate reality consciousness with all these pictures, and not just in my feed, but people I know and in my family were forwarding them to me as well, as if I hadn't already seen them, saying things like, they'll do anything to stop him. God protected him. Yeah, because that's how God works. He's running around pushing people's heads out of the way of bullets, so the bullets whiz past them and come safely to rest inside the chest of a family man behind him where it won't hurt anybody else. They've already found their Messiah, and I think we just got a glimpse of what the mark of the beast will look like. It'll be a tattoo or a symbol of a man with one eye blinded, blinded by a would-be assassin that's willing to do anything to stop him from saving God's people. And I almost forgot. Before I was a believer, I wrote horror novels and screenplays under the pseudonym Victor Heck, meaning victory in hell. I thought I was being clever. But that's why I got married also on October 31st, another really bad idea. But I wrote this extraordinarily blasphemous novel, even for me, in the late 90s, early 2000s, titled Book of Legion. Yeah, bad idea after bad idea after bad idea. I got saved, I repented, and I burned everything. I did a couple book burning testimony videos, but strangely enough, both YouTube and Rumble deleted that one, or the one with me burning stuff. The one where after burning the books that I had to do almost an exorcism prayer over my house is still up on Rumble, however. But what's on the cover of that book? And what is everybody seeing right now? And what moon is coming on July 21st? The buck moon. Everything from poltergeist to I Pet Goat to Leave the World Behind is talking mysteriously about deer with a full rack of antlers. There's a whole mythology thing that I could go into about that, but I won't in the interests of time. But that's the reason I put this silhouette of a demon crowned with buck horns on my book, to represent the demon horde Legion being released upon the world. At any rate, I've gone on long enough on this, I think. I think I've made my point. I only intended for this to be a quick video before the weekend on this Cyber Polygon Friday, it seems, leading up to July 21st. All I want for my birthday this year is to celebrate it in heaven with all my brothers and sisters in Christ. That's not too much to ask, I hope. I hope that this blessed somebody. I pray that this is it. But if it isn't, keep looking up. And if we lose contact for any reason, be encouraged. Don't be afraid. We all know it's coming. We just don't know exactly what it's going to look like leading up to go time. Jesus is coming, and he's coming quickly. God bless you and your families. Cheers.